You are tuned in to another edition of Americana Music Profiles, brought to you by Americana Rhythm Music Magazine and AmericanaMusicMagazine.com. I'm your host, Greg Tutwiler. Let's jump right in to the next exciting interview. Johnny Richardson, a.k.a. Johnny Chops, has a day job most band guys would kill for. He gets to play bass guitar for the Randy Rogers Band while he's out gigging as Johnny Chops and working on his new self-titled record, which is now out. And we get to talk about that with Johnny today on this edition of Americana Music Profiles. So hi, Johnny. Welcome to the podcast. Good to talk to you today.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So we are chatting with you, and you are in Austin. Is that right? Texas?
Yes, Austin, Texas. It's a beautiful day.
Yeah, cool. We're on the East Coast, and it's been raining quite a bit, so we've got some sunshine, so it's nice to be able to relate with you for a change.
Oh, yeah. We have that, like, more than we need, so
yeah.
If you need me to export you some, I'll do what I can.
Absolutely, man. We'll take a little of that right now. Thank you. So you've kind of been a Texas guy your whole life, it sounds like, right?
Yeah, for the most part. I was born in Lubbock and lived there for a little bit and moved around some, spent some time down on the coast in Corpus Christi. And I had a very brief little stop in North Carolina when I was in junior high. My family there. So I have spent a little bit of time on the East Coast, but for the most part, I'm a Texas dude.
And did I understand correctly that you kind of grew up in a musical family? You've been exposed to music pretty much your whole life?
Yeah, my dad is a music teacher. He's a choir teacher. He's been that way for like 40 years, my whole life. And he just retired, actually. And then his dad was a guitar player and a fiddle player. Huh. And he was a pretty unique guy. He never really took any lessons or anything. This is just from what my dad tells me. He could play anything, like he could hear a song and just pick it up and play it real quick. So he was kind of a musical guy. He was actually just a carpenter. He never did it professionally. He played at like dances and barbecues and parties and stuff.
So what was your first recollection of picking up the instrument and kind of figuring out maybe you might like to do this when you grow up?
I had an uncle who gave me a guitar. I'd always thought it was cool, but I never really had enough money to get one. You know, it was always like, if you want to get a musical instrument, you got to kind of work for it. And I couldn't ever mow enough lawns to get one together.
Yeah.
So eventually, one of my family members took pity on me, and my uncle gave me this old, kind of battered acoustic guitar. It was like a copy of a Martin. It was a cheap, I don't know, Korean or Japanese model.
Uh-huh.
But it had this great case that went with it. His brother was this kind of crazy dude, and he did all this bizarre sort of acid trippy looking artwork all over it.
Huh.
So I thought it was like the coolest gift in the world. That was when I was 15 or 16.
Yeah.
And pretty much from the moment I figured out how to put a couple of chords together, everything else I was doing kind of took a backseat. So I just wanted to spend hours and hours a day figuring out how to do that. So that led to other things down the road.
What was your first professional deal? You know, a lot of kids that play music in high school kind of do the high school band thing. But when did you kind of figure out maybe this is something you could actually do professionally?
Not for a while. At first, it was like I played in garage bands, and it was mostly just for fun. And then when I was in college, there was a lot of guys playing country music, like gigging a lot. Every weekend they would be playing somewhere. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, I'm a passable guitar player, but the thing was everybody was looking for a bass player. So I said, I played bass some in high school, and like I said, in garage bands. I said, you know what, there was a guy I'd made friends with. He had a band, and he said, man, we're looking for a bass player. And I said, I'll be your bass player. And I hadn't really played like in a couple of years really at all. But
yeah.
I said, yeah, man, I'm a bass player. I can I can be your bass player. And I went out and got one and started fooling around on it. And ended up gigging around, doing weekend shows here and there, picking things up. And eventually I got a gig with the guys I'm still with now, the Randy Rogers Band, 15 years later, and I'm still doing it.
So that's kind of been your main thing, right? You just alluded to that, but what you're working on, which is what we eventually want to chat about here in a couple of minutes, is some of your own material, but all of that is kind of a side to the Randy Rogers Band. Is that right?
Yeah, I call it. That's my day job.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure beats working a paint store or something, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a pretty awesome day job. I'm very, very lucky to have it.
And what kind of music is that band for you guys?
I guess they call it Texas country.
Okay.
It's country music, but it's got a little bit of a twist to it. It's a little bit rougher around the edges than some of the polished stuff you hear coming out of Nashville and on the radio. So Texas country, some people call it red dirt. It's basically just a rougher version of country music that you might hear on the radio.
And being your quote day job, obviously it keeps you busy enough, where you can. It sounds like you can kind of focus on that for your source of income. What does a full schedule look like with you for those guys? What kind of touring do you do? Is it what's full time mean for that?
It's probably 100 dates a year. The last probably 4 or 5 years, that's about what we've been doing. So it's most weekends, but it's like usually Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So my normal week is we go out on the road Thursday or Friday. I come home on Sunday, and then I have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off to do whatever else I want to do. And then I'll have some random weekends throughout the year that we won't be playing. Someone will have a kid or get married or want to take a vacation or something. So I'll have 3 or 4 weekends out of the year that I can do my own thing on. So it definitely keeps me really busy. I mean, with the Randy Rogers Band, luckily we have a whole team of people working to make the band work. We have an agent, we have a manager, we have publicist, all that stuff. Whereas with my thing, I do all that stuff.
Right. Okay.
Because it's really more of a passion project. I mean, I haven't quite brought it to the level where I can afford all those other people.
So when you go out for your own thing, you're Johnny Chops, is that right? Is there a band name to go with it? Yeah. Where does the Johnny Chops come from? Where does that come from?
So I used to, and sometimes I still do have just big sideburns.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm kind of rocking the beard these days, but someone started calling me that 20 years ago because I had big sideburns. Big Chops.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's just a silly nickname that it kind of stuck, and it was memorable, so I kind of ran with it.
And the music that you do for your own type of shows, where does that fall in style wise? I
would say it's pretty squarely more like in the blues realm.
Yeah. Cool.
Not like, I wouldn't say it's like traditional, like we don't really do like I don't know what else you would call it, like it's blues based.
Right.
I like to throw in a little bit of different things in the mix, but it's kind of primarily comes out of that kind of mold. We do a little bit of soul, we do a little bit of rock and roll, and it's more like rock and roll, not like modern rock. I'm a big fan of like all the stuff from the mid 50s, anything that came out on Chess Records between 1948 and 1962. That's my wheelhouse for sure. It's a little bit more rootsy.
And you're working on the songs that are coming out now are from your second record, right? So you've got one other one already recorded as Johnny Chops.
Yes, that record came out in March of this year. It's just self-titled Johnny Chops and the Razors, and that's the second one. And the first one was kind of an experiment. I did that it was my first ever time to do a record by myself. So I tried on a lot of different hats for that one. Really went all over the place, kind of stylistically. And this second one, I feel like is a little bit more focused. It's kind of like, it's still broad, but it's a little bit more vocally things I can pull off. it's a little bit more the style I kind of want to keep using going forward.
And what does going forward look like? Do you have something in mind that you're working towards? The Randy Rogers Band, is that kind of one of these things that you feel like that's going to be stable for a while, or is this something that you may be thinking about the future as your own deal?
I would be super happy if this project could like pay for itself.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
If I could do it enough to where it's something I get to do that artistically keeps me fresh and keeps me rejuvenated, and yet doesn't cost me a bunch of money.
Right.
If I could seek enough to where it supports itself, that's really the main goal for it for me. I like playing in my other band and my other job, and I don't really have any intention of leaving that anytime soon.
Sure, yeah. So what kind of venues do you find, or what kind of audiences do you find that resonate with what you're doing with Johnny Chops versus maybe the type of folks that you find in the audience with the other band?
I think it's generally people who are closer to my age. I'm 41, so people who went to high school in the 90s probably.
Right.
I'm settled down. We have a big college crowd with Randy Rogers Band. That's kind of our market. I would say my group is probably a little bit older. They're a little bit more settled down, but they're also, I think, people who are really into music for music's sake. People who are interested in maybe where certain music came from, or not just what's the newest thing coming out.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah. Where do you? So you mentioned earlier that you kind of find yourself out most weekends with the other band. How do you find what kind of opportunities do you find to play, or where would you find yourself playing with your solo project?
We do manage to gig around Texas quite a bit. We do shows around here in Austin. Between Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, Fort Worth, we actually play pretty frequently. Those are kind of our regular spots right now. And then I've made a couple of little trips out to the West Coast just because of some connections I've made out there. And then I'm going to try to get over in you guys' neck of the woods, actually.
Yeah, over on the East Coast,
maybe something.
Virginia, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to do, like, Virginia up through New York and maybe Boston at some point.
Yeah.
I don't have anything booked yet, but I am looking in that direction.
Yeah, cool. So are the songs that you... The obviously we're helping you promote the new record and the new singles. Are these originals for you? Are you writing these songs?
Oh yeah. Songwriting is my deal.
Okay, yeah.
That's really like the main reason I started doing this other project, was because I was writing so much stuff. I needed somewhere else for it to go.
So you actually are writing music for the other band too? Do you write some of their songs?
A little bit here and there, yeah. Every now and again, if I write a song that fits what we do. We've cut a few of mine on some of our records. It's, I would say it's like a song per record, maybe. I'll get one that kind of fits that style.
So Johnny Chops is more kind of your outlet for your own personal music.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your songwriting process. Where do you, what inspires you? What makes you come up with some of the music that you've created?
It depends. When you're out and about, people say things. You hear a line somewhere and you write it down. I would say it's half of my life and half of just things I imagine.
Yeah.
I do like telling a story in a song. I'm a huge fan of that. I like being creative with songs and saying, there's a song on the new record called Tombstone Flowers. And that came from, I got just the idea of Tombstone Flowers. That's a cool phrase. How can I make a song out of that? And I came up with this idea of maybe it's a song from the point of view of a guy who's actually in the grave, like he's dead, and he's wondering, why aren't you coming to visit me? So it'd be kind of like a twist on a love story.
That's interesting. Everybody that's a songwriter kind of has their own creative process. I'm often fascinated by everybody's individual approach to that, and I guess what I'm kind of curious about is for you, when you get an idea to write a song, is it